Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing out there today? I'm very excited. I see that a lot of you are also excited. My guest today is Daniel Cohoon from Magickal Journey. Before we start, Daniel, I want to say welcome. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you, definitely.
I just want to say hello to some of the people that have already joined us. Awesome. I just do this from my phone because it's easier. I was just expressing to Daniel how much I dislike my laptop because we're having a little bit of technical difficulties behind the scenes. But see how I'm looking at the live screen and Daniel and I are like, we're okay. That's okay. You're just going to get a close up of us. But it's not going to affect anything with the show. So, oh, Barb. Okay, so I want to say hi to Pamela. Welcome, Pamela and Jane from Chiro Sounds. Little Twisted. Lena, thank you so much for being here. Joey, yay, welcome. Midwest Night Watchers. Garrel, thank you also for joining us. Tabitha, thanks for being here. Catherine Gay, I'm so happy to see Catherine. Lorna, welcome, honey. Susan F, so good to see you. Laurie Sue is here. Thanks for being here, Laurie Sue. Oh, I hope I didn't miss anybody. It looks like I got everybody. Okay, so awesome. So Daniel, could you just give everybody that is not, our viewers that aren't familiar with what you do, can you just tell us a little bit about what you do?
Okay, well, first of all, my name is Daniel Cohoon, as you already know. I am the founder of Magickal Journey, which is a whole brand now. Obviously the first thing that I am a podcaster. I do some investigation and research still in the areas of the paranormal. Right now, that's kind of on hold for some other projects I'm working on. There's so many things that I do. Honestly, there's so many things I do. I am considered a spiritual advisor, as some people call us at this point in my life. And it's a long list. If you really want to keep updated, honestly, and know all the dirt on me, magicaljourney.com is a really great resource. It has like everything that you can possibly want to find on me online is attached to that website. So that's a great source right there.
Okay. All right. And I will, I'm going to put that in the permanent comments after the show. So everybody can just go to that and refer to that. Very interesting. Now, before we went live, and with the technical difficulties and everything going on in our lives and everything in the really in the nation and the world today, you were telling me a little bit about what you believe is all going on. Can you talk about that a little bit? That was very, very insightful, very interesting.
So, first of all, let's talk about the right now. The right now is at the beginning of October. We're heading into what's known as the thinning of the veil. And what that really means is that usually there's a huge space between the other worlds and our world. And when I say the other worlds, I mean the spiritual realms and other sorts of realms, mostly spiritual realms and those of the physical world. Now, this time of year is one of the two times in the year that the veil begins to thin. And especially from right now until usually the first week or so of November is the real thin time where, according to tradition and according to lore, of course, it accumulates. In this country, we say it accumulates on Halloween night when all kinds of chaos is going on and the ghosts and so forth are walking among us and all the typical lore, all of that comes from the Celtic nation, by the way, or nations, which if you want to go back and research that, there's a lot of fun stuff to learn about that. But with the thinning of the veil, though, when the two worlds are starting to mesh together more and more, you do get some very interesting energy, some things going on. Obviously, the spirit realm can start entering our world this time of year. Why is that important with things that are going on right now? Well, you see, especially with the cryptids, with energy workers, with people who are working on the spiritual realms and so forth, this time of year is a big deal. It can affect a lot of different beings a lot of different ways. It even affects plant life, believe it or not. As the trees and so forth are starting to go into slumber, and the winter plants are starting to wake up a little bit and so forth, all of these energies come together to affect everything. Now, let's talk for a moment about the idea of this time of year in our part of the country, in Appalachia. This is the time of year where the folk are starting to rest. They're getting ready to rest. The harvest season's coming to an end. The third harvest is here now. People are starting to get up all those fruits and vegetables that they've labored all summer for. Everything is starting to get to a point where you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and rest is coming. In the Wiccan and the old way traditions, what most people here call Halloween is also referred to as Samhain, which is essentially the new year. So with all this, when the veil is thinning, Samhain is here. We're starting to slow down. We're starting to see some hope there. The energy workers, the light workers, are doing several things this time of year. They're obviously working on energy work. They're celebrating their ancestors. They're doing a lot of things. Depending on what your belief system is. And all this energy is building up. It's building up. There's focuses throughout the earth that's very important. And here's where I'm going with this. Two areas in our part of the country that's extremely important for energy workers because there's energy focuses there. The Smoky Mountain area and around the Asheville area. Okay. Keep both of those in mind because what I'm about to tell you guys is very important to know. So recently we had the experience on the Smokies. If you were familiar, there was a lightning strike that caused a fire. This could have been much worse than it was. I know it was kind of a lot of people, especially after the Gatlinburg fire, whenever they see fire on the mountain, they panic. Why this was not a problem that it could have been is that particular lightning strike was intended for one area and it hit another. It was still an area that was important, but not as important as the area that it was intended for. Okay. I am not going to say on this podcast who directed that, but you guys already know. Now, let's flash forward to this past week with the hurricane. Asheville is a very important center. Okay, not only is there in that mountain lithium deposits, which is essentially a very strong energy source in itself, but there's a lot of old energy on that hill. Okay. A lot of old energy. So when you disrupt an area like that at such an important time of year, you were disrupting the work of a lot of people, okay? You're disrupting the lives of a lot of people. And yes, all of your theories that you guys are talking about the lithium and all that stuff is very important. But what you're not seeing is that right now, the energy workers and the earth spirits and other creatures that use the energy of that area to protect themselves and the cryptids this time of year are now kind of without a major power source at this point. And you're like, well, how is that possible? Because so you have a lot of chaotic energy right now. You have a lot of death. You have a lot of fear. You have a lot of doubt. There's a lot of energy going on to disrupt the flow of what would normally be an upward spiral flow of energy. Okay. That energy is now disrupted, and it may not ever go back completely because there's been a huge change. Lives have been lost. People's homes have been lost. That energy is now part of the landscape. And the powers that be know this. They know that they have struck a very strong chord, okay, with us. Those of us who are energy workers, those of us who require something from there, okay? Unfortunately, like I said, this time of the year too, and we all know this, the cryptids are very vulnerable to the energy of the veiling, the veils closing in, is something that can affect them in different ways for different reasons. And let me be very clear with you guys. I am not any more of authority than anybody else. So there's a lot of questions I still have as to why they're so susceptible and what they are susceptible to this time of year. I do know that casting protection, playing music, sound cleansing is a very important thing, okay? Because you can't smoke cleanse an entire forest, but music travels a long way. We don't know the response that you would get from ringing bells around them, okay? But we do know that all creatures relate to music. All creatures respond to music. And it's normally not, unless you, I'm pretty sure if you played a really bad, like, hair band, they would probably not be real fond of it. But the fact of the matter is the cryptids do respond to music, just like all other creatures respond to music. So it's a safe and non-invasive cleansing to play music for them. Okay. And it cleans out their area and it does not cause them any trauma. You don't want to obviously the clang of bells and chimes and other things could be, we don't know how they would react to that. Personally, for me, if somebody started playing gongs and bells around me and it was a lot of noise, I'd probably flip my crap, to be honest with you, because it's just not as pleasant. It's not as pleasant. And there's a lot of different types of cleansing that you can do, but that is the playing of music is very important. So I really want to go back to this whole thing with the divine timing on all of this was very interesting because a lot of stuff got kind of downloaded to me today on the way home from East Tennessee for work, and I was asking some serious questions like, why is all this happening right now? What's the point of all of this? And again, I want to reiterate a lot of this that was directed at the places it was directed at the people and the places there, but it was also directed at the people who and other creatures, okay, that rely on those areas. And I think it's very important to understand that. I mean, if any of you have been to especially Asheville, you know that is a very diverse group of people there. You know, there's a lot of light workers and energy workers that live in those areas. It's a concentration. And that's one of the things that they really want to go after right now, because they know that the one thing that they do not have any ability to stop are people who are working beyond the physical planes.
Wow.
I mean, you're dealing with... Draw the picture in your mind for a second. Lady Harris, for instance, very physical human being. She probably has zero... Like, if she came in contact with an energy worker and really knew what that we are able to do, how is she going to combat any of that in her mind? How is she going to wrap her mind around it? Yeah. Because these people are very much on the physical plane.
Yeah, they're surface level.
Dense. Mm-hmm. And this is the thing of it. They do not have... A bullet can't stop you, okay? A bullet can't stop an energy work. It can't. And in reality, and this may be a very important message for some of you guys, okay? We are physical beings, yeah. But beyond that, we are energy. The very essence, if you have any sort of spiritual belief whatsoever, you must believe that you are made of energy. Energy cannot be destroyed. A bullet can take out your body, but it can't take out you. Mm-hmm. We essentially are energy that can manipulate energy because we have that conscious ability to. So we're very dangerous to them. And this is the power of the human race. This is what we're lacking the understanding of right now. Like, the reason they want to keep us divided is not because they're afraid of a physical militia. They're afraid of a spiritual militia.
Wow.
You know, because, and the easiest way to do this is the way that they do best is, let's keep them on a religious level. Let's keep them separated. Mm-hmm. Because that's the easiest way to do it. Oh. The second easiest way to do it is, let's create a race card. Mm-hmm. Because if my black brothers and sisters and I are not getting along, then we're not going to connect on the spiritual level. So those are two very big fronts right there that they're winning greatly in, because we're allowing it. We're allowing it. I respect and I love each one of you when it comes to the idea of the fact that I've never seen people more passionate about anything than politics these days. Mm. But please understand that this is another area of division. Mm-hmm. And for those of you who really want to go back and get a reality check, go back and read Matthew chapter 24 again, because there's a verse in there. I'm not going to tell you which verse it is. You'll know it when you read it. But I will tell you one thing it says. It talks about deception and even the elite being deceived. Okay? Mm-hmm. We have two choices to make this in the next few weeks. You know, we have to decide which side we're going to vote for, if we're going to vote. I understand that. I understand it's very important to do that. What I'm going to tell you guys, though, is be very careful because the outcome is going to be very close the same way. Okay, regardless of who it is, because neither one of them have our best intentions in mind. Neither one of them. Yeah. There is no good intention in either side right now. And I know some of you are going to be very upset with that, but there's a podcaster that says, and you guys know who I'm talking about, Love Tony, the truth will piss you off before it sets you free. So remember that while we're talking today. But those are good. Am I missing any of the points that we were talking about earlier?
No, I don't. I think that was, that's exactly what we, you're expanded upon it, but that's, yes, but that's what, just the, I wanted to see, what did I have? So, when you say that you consulted, is that what you said? Who did you consult like on this? Was this like your spirit guides, or is there a person that you're consulting, or other energy workers, or can you say?
So, I can't, I don't mind talking about this actually, because sooner or later I'm going to have to become more open with this idea and understand the reason why I haven't been is because I realize for some people and not everybody is on the same journey I am. And it's probably going to be very difficult for some people to wrap their head around it first, because it was for me. But for years now, I've been on this path. And so I work with, among other things, celestials. Recently with the cryptids, they kind of like knocked on my mental door and said, "Hey, I want to do some mind speak with you." And I kind of went, "Oh, that's nice. Great. Now what do I do with this?" Because, it's like for years I've dealt with angelics, with celestials, with other spiritual beings and even earth spirits and so forth. I've dealt with a lot of things. My favorite people to talk to are trees. Go figure that one out.
I get it.
I'm glad somebody does, because that's important. Honestly, some days I have to give myself a sanity check, because when you grow up and with this sort of experience in your life as a child and then move into adulthood, it's natural to kind of question your own sanity some days, I think, because you eventually want to know, okay, as a kid, it was kind of cool and people accepted it because, that's what kids, but when you become an adult, they want you to get out of childhood behavior. And this could be like, if I was sent to a psychiatrist, there's a lot of things in their books that would probably say, he's a little bit out there. So, with that said, this was coming from a couple of sources today, especially there were definitely cryptids that were being very animate about this is not okay. None of this is okay. Our people are being affected by it. You're being affected by it. A lot of people are being affected by what happened. On the higher realms, I can tell you now, there was a lot of heavy bombardment, just boom, all of a sudden. Okay, you know what? You asked the question. Here's the answer. Boom, there you are. Have a good day. Because the celestials are not really known to be beings that are, they're just very matter of fact.
Can you tell me what is a celestial? I'm not.
So celestials are beings who reside in the celestial kingdom. Okay. Angels, cherubim. There's other beings that are not really spoken about in Western culture that reside there. You have to understand the Western view of the interpretation of the Bible is very whitewashed. It really is, because we're trying to fit a book written by a group of people who are not European, okay, in a time that was not now. And we're trying to interpret it in our words and our way. So there's a lot of stuff that, when it comes to the celestials especially, that is not really understood very well by Westerners, unfortunately. The book of Daniel and the vision of the wheel and inside the wheel. That was a celestial.
I'm so sorry, Daniel. Let me just, because we have a question or a comment from Michelle. She's saying, so do we, so don't vote? I don't think that's what you're saying.
Oh, definitely. No. So this is Michelle, let me reiterate something that I did say in all of this. We have a choice of which to vote for. This is the only time in history I've ever agreed with anything that a pope said. Okay. And the pope recently said the same thing that I'm about to say. And you have to pick the lesser of the two evils. Now, when I'm saying that, I want you guys to, whatever your intuitive feeling is on it, go in that direction.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But vote, definitely.
Vote.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Vote, definitely, absolutely. Exercise your right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Understand that there's going to be repercussions either way, okay? Because you have to understand that, like I said, not only do neither one of the sides actually have your best interest in mind, but there are worldwide things going on behind the scenes that we don't really see sometimes, that's going to have effects too, okay? So if the Dems win, for instance, we have to worry about what that's going to send the signal to Russia, to Asia, to some of the other countries that are not exactly our friends. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, one of the big proponents of the anti-Trump part of the world is Iran. So they're not going to be appeased either way. They're going to hate us one way or the other because they don't like either one of the candidates. So there's going to be global repercussions to either choice you make. Okay. Most of those are going to be directed at the leadership, not at the people, because there's a lot of speculation in other parts of the world, to be honest with you, as to whether our vote really matters or not. Just like here, we wonder about it sometimes. They wonder about it too. But what will send the message, though, and especially to Putin is a very big deal here. He is literally already given the signal that he is not a fan of Harris by one of the comments he made recently. You have to understand how he operates. And let me throw something out there to you guys. I don't know if you know this or not, but he consults shaman before he makes decisions. He is very much this man is somebody who is very much a believer in the paranormal, very much a believer in the occult. There's a lot of things that he consults, a lot of people that he consults with things. So, and one of the reasons a lot of people, there was one point where when he started the mess with Ukraine, there were people on Witch Talk on that platform saying, well, why don't we just throw a curse on him and get rid of him? And those that were wise enough to know better was like, you do realize he has covens of witches protecting him, right? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Because then you're going to start a witch war. So there's a lot of information to hand you guys today. Okay? Bear with me.
Yeah, we can. Yeah. So you're just saying basically do your research.
Do your vote. Go with your intuition.
That's right. Gotcha.
Go with your intuition, but definitely vote. You know what? Do not ever let anybody or anybody's statement prevent you from doing that which is an American thing, okay? As nobody should ever, and if I ever tell you do not vote, it's probably not me. Just saying.
Gotcha.
So, that's kind of like saying, oh, by the way, you don't need to breathe today. Just don't worry about breathing today. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
You will never hear me say any of that. My family was over here before this country was a country. So I'm definitely part of the believing in the political process to be activated in people's lives.
Okay. So prior to that, what were you were speaking about? Just I guess. Wait, what were you? Who you were consulting and what they were telling you, as far as.
Yeah. So, some of the messages that has been sent my way more than once lately, but definitely today on the way home, that was very clear, was that right now there's a lot of interest in making as many people vulnerable as they can. Okay. And part of that too, when I say people, is not just the hairless Homo sapien people. Okay. They want to make as much vulnerability as possible right now. And there are people that are going to probably disagree with this. And I'm sorry for those of you who live in places that are not Appalachia for so many reasons. You're missing out on so much. The people and the area of that I'm talking about here right now is an extremely important resource for them, okay? And for us as a people, because you have to understand, we're talking about the descendants of some of the earliest of the non-Indigenous Americans, okay? The bloodlines that brought over a lot of stuff that was very important for this country to be able to succeed in the way it was. There's a reason why you see certain names attached to so much stuff throughout this country, but yet they never really, those family names never did anything of any importance, seemingly. It's not like they're the Rockefellers or something like that. And a lot of times you will find the descendancy of the folks that were the Scottish, the Irish, the Swiss, the Germans that came over here early on, especially the Scottish and the Irish, the Celtic nations in particular, brought a lot of traditions over, a lot of ways, a lot of the old ways, and then eventually the sons and daughters of Afra came over and brought another tradition, another group of traditions that was equally powerful and strong. And a lot of both sides wound up in Appalachia, okay? The resource of that area, there's a reason why they try to keep that area very poor, very out of touch, West Virginia has been one of the most just tragically ignored places on the face of the earth for so long, and they're finally starting to get people to go there and build and so forth. But there's a reason why some of those areas have been oppressed for as long as they have. There's a reason why in some of those areas there's high concentration of drug use and so forth. It is the way that those who are not our friends try to keep us as subjectable. Again, you guys have to understand, when you keep the people in bondage, you wield all the power. And I know you know this. I know we've talked about this for years now, years. But this particular point that we're at with this decision will ultimately make the next 4 years what it's going to be, okay? It's going to make it what it's going to be. There's a reason why there's an uptick in people. Barb, we talked about this a few minutes ago too, before we went live. Just experienced your first experience of mind speak. There's a reason why there's an uptick of things like this. Why the cryptids and other beings are trying to communicate, trying to get the story across to people. It's not by chance that people are having these experiences, and it's not by chance that there's so many more of these experiences happening now. It's not by chance that around 2 months ago now, nobody on YouTube knew who I was, and I had no desire whatsoever to be doing this. No desire to be doing this. And then, and overnight, that flipped real quick. And because there are those of us that are being called out now to sound the alarm, sound the bell. Not necessarily the alarm. I hate that. Sound the alarm. That sounds so doomsday-ish. But here's the thing of it. There are a lot of Paul Revere's out there right now, and they are coming forward. And we all have different talents. We all have different skills and abilities. We all have different parts of the puzzle to put together to try to bring about what needs to happen. And there's reasons why we're starting to pop up. Okay. There's reasons why there are people that, because believe me, I have a friend who the other night looked at me and said, your problem is you're a reluctant prophet. And I'm like, I don't like those words. But the fact of the matter is there is hesitance on a human level to want to do. This is not a comfort thing for me. Okay. It's definitely not a comfort thing for me. I'm not enjoying this, but it's a calling. And that's one of the things that the sooner that we can get you guys to understand what's going on and how to act upon it, because there is action. There is action. It's not like you just got to lay there and take it. Okay. There is a way to say no in a way that's definitive, and they cannot cross that line. And I've already told you exactly what I'm talking about here. We are essentially energy with a conscious ability to be able to manipulate more energy. Take that and go with it and figure out what to do with it on your level. Because here's the other thing that's been handed to me a lot lately. And I even did a video on this not too long ago. I didn't understand the importance of that video until about a week ago. there is a difference between, there are two types of gifts. There are spiritual gifts and there are gifts of the spirit. Okay. Now, understand this. A lot of you guys have been taught all of your life that only certain people have spiritual gifts. There's only certain people that are psychic or can read cards or can like do all this like astral project and all these other really great things that, you know, that only just certain people can do that. That's a lie. You are deeply deceived if you believe that. Okay. We are all created equally in the sense of being able to tap into the spiritual gifts. We all have the ability to tap into any one of them or all of them. Now, here's where it gets a little interesting, a little fun, okay? Because Creator is much smarter than we are and knows what we're going to want and what our interests are and so forth long before we do, we are hot-wired to certain things, certain abilities that will come more naturally, that will come easier, that will come quicker. So that's where the confusion lies on, well, you know, you have to be this and you have to be that, and certain things, you know, not everybody can do these things. The misconception is the misunderstanding of the fact that we're all given something that we're kind of like, it's more our jam, so to say. It's just like the interest in music or whatever. I mean, these are all things that are kind of born into us. Okay. Now let's talk about the gifts of the spirit for a second, because there are changes here. Okay. So spiritual gifts we're born with. We all can tap into them. We all have that ability. Gifts of the spirit, however, come from a totally different source, because that comes from the Holy Spirit, obviously, right? If you believe that. So, and there is a limited number of them listed, okay? And they are specific for specific things. Now, what I'm going to tell you about the gifts of the spirit that's really cool, is when it comes to the gifts of the spirit, they are kind of a supercharged spiritual gift in a sense, because like healing is one of those things, I think it's really the only one that kind of intersects together, because you can have the spiritual gift of healing without having the gift of the spirit of healing. But you put those two together, if you happen to have the spiritual gift of healing and the gift of the spirit of healing, you get a supercharge there. You've got a big battery of healing going on, okay? So be aware of that. Definitely be aware of that. Be aware of the differences between the two, and be aware of the fact that we are all capable of tuning in to the spiritual gifts. That's going to take a minute, because you've been told your entire life that only certain people had those abilities. Again, if we keep them dumb,
easy to control,
and they're powerless. And where did it start? Where does that start at? Where did that start at? It started somewhere probably in, and please understand that the basis of history in this country, a lot of the education in the early days started in the church building and in the schools, and those were very interconnected together. So the idea that only certain people have this or that or another. It was very important to try to warp the minds of the people through the pulpits and the educational system. I'm not saying church is bad. Do not buy that at all. What I'm telling you is to be careful about what we let through the doors to show up in our buildings of education and spiritual advancement. Okay, because that is where the messages like this get warped. It's where it gets warped the quickest. But anyway, so I know it's a lot. It's
good
a
point.
lot.
Yeah, but that's very good points. Yeah.
So I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
How has it been going since your first experience with Mind Speak?
Okay. Well, it was my first experience. It was not my first experience with Mind Speak, but it was actually, I would say, my third, because the first one was that, and the other two were very brief. The first one was I was listening through my my cameras like I do many nights, and I heard who I think is the alpha male of my Sasquatch clan, and he's very distinctive and very and he's just about almost every time there's something going on, he's there. I'm not saying that he's there every night, but when I mean, and he's the first thing that I'll hear because of his distinctive sound. But as I'm hearing this word like showed up in my head and I heard, and it wasn't my voice. I can't even say Mont, MONT. And I'm like, wait a minute. I said Mont. And so then I'm thinking, did I just what? So then in my head, I said, Mont, is that you? Is that your name, Mont? And it was the grunt, that he
Wow.
does. So I was like, oh my gosh. So then I said again, wait, Mont, would you? And, I kind of asked again and there wasn't a response. So was it a coincidence? I don't think it was. We were talking before. There's a lot of these things aren't coincidence. The second one was the second time was very similar. I was watching, or I'm sorry, I'm listening through my camera, seeing if I can hear anything. And I heard this they make a sound, they mimic ducks or geese, but then it trails off to, it's not a duck or a goose, and I like laugh like, oh, then I get this like Oscar. So I'm like, oh, Oscar, is that you, Oscar? I'm thinking, back to, and I'm thinking OSCAR, Oscar Mayer. Yeah, I mean, every time this is so bizarre. Every time I hear that, Oscar Mayer, and I'm thinking, and kind of singing that in my head. No, and the word pops up OSKAR, like. This thing is saying, no, that's not how you spell my name. And at that point, I'm like, okay, this is not my mind doing this. This is something putting this. So, all right. So there are the first two things. Now, the thing that we're talking about that happened last week, I believe that it was, the night of the full moon, the harvest moon. That was where I was playing the music, like you and I talked about, and you said, as I was instructed to do, to help kind of cleanse the negative energy out of the force and to strengthen them because they're very deeply affected by it. And I put on like a little show kind of for them, and I sing to them. It's like you said, people would think I was crazy if you're not a believer in this stuff, but whatever. I don't have neighbors that are going to see me. I don't care. So, except my Sasquatch neighbors. And it's been very effective to do this, that they will show up in my videos right after that and, in photos. So this is going on. We're having a great time. My little dog was actually kind of involved in it all, in that he has a little Sasquatch toy that we call Violet. And right before that, he had brought his Sasquatch like out to me. And I'm like, wow, how did you, I don't know. A lot of things that are just bizarre. So okay, so I digress. So I'm back. I'm singing to them, and all of a sudden, and I'm having a great time. All of a sudden, this feeling of like profound sadness, like profound, like I don't even know how to explain. Such a strong feeling.
Yeah.
Over like, and I just I was like, whoa, what is that? And I'm like, I think I went on with the song because it was toward the end of the song. And then I stopped and I said, are you like, what was that? Are you guys, like what's going on? That's when I started to then get the mind speak. It was like,
Mhm.
and I also I've been struggling the past year with when I saw the Sasquatch that I did sitting in the bush.
Mhm.
And I think many of you know the story about that. I was surprised that the Sasquatch was surprised, and I just like screamed and ran, and I felt so bad about that because
Mhm.
the way that it reacted was not aggressive. It just kind of put its head down, and I just have been kind of stressing out about that. Like, why did I do that? Not even from a standpoint like, okay, that's a natural reaction, right? But from the standpoint, did I hurt its feelings? Because I didn't want to hurt its feelings. Um,
Mhm.
so this, I think, the mind speak was kind of my answer to that, because what they said to me was, why do you want to look at us? Why do you want us to show, ourselves to you? Why people think that we're ugly? People think that we're scary monsters. And then they started to show me pictures like which I can only maybe think that was something that things that they've been witnessing, like there was like 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 a gun and then they
Mhm.
just like anger, like I don't it was just very flashing, very very fast. And they showed me this was very brief. It was like a brief image of what looked to be a juvenile Sasquatch, like laying like possibly like dead,
Mhm.
unalive, sorry, I don't know. But it was just so upsetting, and I just started to just cry. I mean, I was so just sitting there sobbing, sobbing, sobbing. And my little dog, I don't know, he was running around on the deck. He brings his little Sasquatch toy and like put it at my feet. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is that a message like from you guys? Like, it's okay. And I'm trying to say to them, I think you guys are beautiful. Like you're beautiful. You're beautiful. So then later on, because I'm trying to like wrap my head around this, and I thought to myself, I'm gonna make a recording of this so I don't forget. I'm gonna actually just record myself. So I did a quick recording, which I was like, I can't ever show this to anybody because I look such a mess, and I was so like sobbing, and but so I come inside, and I was just folding laundry. This is the second part of the video that if anybody is familiar with that I'll release it tonight
Mhm.
later on tonight. This is this is really the message. So the second part, so I'm there like just folding laundry, supper's on the stove, and all of a sudden pops into my head, like almost like a little boy Sasquatch. Like I
Mhm.
would say like the energy of like a 10-year-old. And was so cute. And he was like, hey, I'm glad that my family, like almost that we made this connection. And he said that, that like, I don't know, he was not talking words. It was, I'm just
Mhm.
getting the, like, do you know what I mean, Daniel? I can't even,
Mhm.
like, just so glad we connected. And I'm like, oh yeah, well, I love your family. And he said, everybody, again, like, that I was getting this, like, everybody thinks they're monsters and that they're ugly and scary. And I don't think that they're familiar with humans that aren't afraid of them. And so, yes, it was images, yeah, just images and understanding. And then all of a sudden it was like, he got bored of this conversation and was like, oh, well, I'm going to show you what I can do. And shows me pictures of him like running. And then he grabbed onto like a tree limb, and he's like flipping around, like going around and around. And then he was like, bye. And then that was, and then that was it.
Mhm.
But the message was, that they think that humans, think they're scary, they're aggressive, they're mean, and it was just not saying that they didn't say like we should all come together, but mostly like they don't really understand why we want to seek them out. And so I was just trying to tell them why I think they're beautiful. We can all exist together. People have told me that they think that that all Sasquatch or Bigfoot have this like conscious level, like level of consciousness, and they all know what's going on. And after that, I don't believe that. I mean, just maybe that's just I think that maybe there's different levels of consciousness. There's different levels of understanding. Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
Yes.
So, are you familiar with a book called The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis?
Absolutely.
So, let's take the demons out and let's put the cryptids in. You have to kind of view things with their messages, much like reading the Screwtape Letters, because we're used to thinking everything on a human level in a human way with human thoughts and blah, 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 everything. But it's all about us. Mm-hmm. The Screwtape Letters forced us to have to think about things opposite of what we usually think of.
Yes.
And that's kind of the way you have to view mind speak. And I had somebody who I have a lot of respect for recently make the comment that nothing good comes from mind speak. And I thought to myself, that is another misconception. I really hate that people believe that. But so one of the early things that I got from communication with them was, and my relationship with them is a lot different than a lot of people's is, because they've kind of been working with me since childhood in a way to learn to accept them. Because at first I was very afraid of them as a child, and then as time progressed, they kind of changed that, needless to say. But one of the first things messages I got from them is, look, here's how we see you guys. You have to understand, you're the only creatures on the face of the earth that possess things that can destroy everything. You're the only creatures on the face of the earth that build cities that can destroy our entire world. You literally come in and take over huge swaths of forest land and resources, and we don't know what you do with some of this stuff, but you take it. And you have the ability, with sheer numbers and as one of them said to me, the toys that you possess are very dangerous. And this one in particular was in a very loving but very firm way, said to me, one of our problems with humanity and with humans is you see us as being monsters, but you are actually the monsters looking at us.
Wow. Yes. Oh, wow.
And my response back was, well, if I'm a monster, why are you having this conversation with me? And of course, one of the things that it was very quick to say to me is, not you, because we don't have prejudice. We don't, that's a word that we had to tap in to learn, because we don't have that. It's like, we don't look at every one of you and go, oh, there's another one of those people.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And so you have to understand, when we're dealing with the cryptids and we're dealing with mind speak, that we really do have to kind of look at in a Screwtape letter kind of way. It's like we have to bend our thought processes over to their thought processes and get out of our head.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Wow. It's interesting you brought up the Screwtape letters, because after I read that, I was so affected by it that I actually went through the book and made notes, and like in reverse, what was in reverse, because that was able to highlight how twisted, it, anyway, so can we talk? Would you share a little bit about when they first came to you, or when were you? I assume a little boy. I mean, when this all started.
The very first conscious contact that I had with them, I want to say I was somewhere between 9 and maybe 12 years old. And the place that I grew up at was very wooded. I was always, like all kids, I was always fascinated with going down and hanging out in the woods. I was terrified of snakes, but I still went out in the woods. We had a lot of copperheads and so forth in that area. So I was always worried about that kind of stuff. But when I was down there playing in the woods, I would always feel like there was something watching me. And I never could figure that out. And then, of course, I was kind of a weird child, so I liked to watch stuff on the paranormal and all that whenever I was a kid, and watched all the horror movies and everything. And there was the one day or the one night when I was watching a documentary, and there was this video of a Sasquatch, as they called it. And I just got this, oh my God, feeling of just like, this is not okay with me right now. And there was a lot of fear based to that for me. For some reason, I felt very much like there was some fear attached to that. And along down the road somewhere after that, I had a dream one night. And this dream, in my mind as a kid, I saw what looked like to me ape kind of looking creatures in this encased in white light. It was everywhere. I couldn't see a floor or walls or a ceiling. It was pure white light and it was bright, but I could see them. And they were speaking to me, but I couldn't understand the words. I had no idea what they said, but I knew they were speaking to me. And when I woke up, there was so much confusion because I was like, I thought to myself, I don't know what's happening here. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I should be freaked out, if I should be scared, I don't know how to respond to this. And I kind of let go of it after a few days for a while. And every once in a while I would come back to it again. I got really fearful of going into the woods though, because there was one point where I saw scratch marks, like there were 4 or 5 scratch marks on a tree that was really high up. Oh, wow. And I just kept thinking to myself, oh my God, I'm down here playing and I feel something watching me. And they left a mark on the tree now. You know, and so I quit going down to the woods because of that for the longest time. Because I was just like, I don't feel comfortable with them watching me like that.
Yes.
For years, they would subtly, wherever I went, they would make themselves known either through, I would just turn on the TV and there would be a documentary, or I would turn around and there would be an advertisement or something that said Bigfoot or something like that. Or there was the name, it was always a constant reminder in my face. You know, and eventually, you know, when I moved back down here and I started going to I've always had a fascination with the mountains, especially the Smokies. The park has always been a calling to me. But when I moved back down here this time around, I spent a lot of time at the park at first. And my interview with Brian, I had this conversation with him the other day. I told him, I said, the old mill, the grist mill going toward Townsend there, I used to stop at that a lot. And I would get the same feeling of being watched there. Mm-hmm. And I haven't been to the park in a while now, since like just after the COVID thing really finally let up and people were starting to go again. Mostly because I got to tell you, I was so horrified by going to the park and seeing all the trash and spray paintings on the rocks and everything. Right. It was infuriating to me. Yep. Yes. And that was one of the conversations that they had with me, they being the cryptids, not so long ago when they really first started reaching out with Mindspeak, was one of the reasons why they're trying to get people to open up to them now is so that they can express to people that understand and feel the same way they do how it feels to have people just literally trashing their neighborhood. Mm-hmm. You know, they didn't ask for us to come in and do this stuff. They did not invite us to come in and do this stuff. And it's federal government property. Mm-hmm. What are you doing, people? Come on. What are you doing?
Right. Yes.
And this is like, is like I told you the other day about in that text message. Now you're starting to get into Mindspeak. Be prepared to be very angry at some points, not with them, but with people, because as you begin to become more connected with them, you can actually start feeling their feelings and thoughts and so forth more. You learn on their level, you know, and I guess I was there before that, really, to be honest with you, because the very first time I went to and I saw like all the carving on the there on the buildings and the cove, I was infuriated by that. Mm-hmm. And then I remember walking through the cove one day, and we were off walking on one of the trails, and somebody had left a marker on the ground because they had put their mom's ashes there. And I thought to myself, I should be upset that they did that, but I understand why they did that and why mom wanted to be here, because she probably had the experience. They were probably communicating. She probably wanted to be here because of that, to have her final resting place in the place that she was drawn and felt she wanted to be part of. And I feel like the more that we start connecting with them and with nature, because you got to understand, if you want to heal your planet, we're going about it the wrong way. It's not about having paper straws. Paper straws are not going to change the what we're doing, okay? And the alarming rate that the planet is going down, we need to understand that it's very important for us to just literally engross ourselves in serious repentance over what has happened to the planet, because each one of us, whether we have littered or done anything or not, we are by proxy responsible because we have not done anything to stop it. Mm-hmm. We have idly sitting on our hands, watching the television and watching the news and looking at our environment and going, that's really sad. And then going to sleep somehow. Mm-hmm. How we're sleeping at night with knowing that we're responsible for this too. I have no idea. Mm-hmm. Honestly, don't know how I go to sleep at night sometimes, realizing that I have not been vocal enough and I have not been mobile enough when it comes to protecting the planet. And if you're an Abrahamic believer, that you are like really transgressing a big thing here, because the whole point of stewardship, humans have dominion over the earth. They were given dominion over the earth through stewardship. So we are responsible. We are required to protect this planet.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
You see why I try to keep my mouth shut most days?
No, I think this is so profound. You know what, Daniel, I have been struggling with, and I have been, okay, so, aside from that, how I felt about that, the last, I think since this storm and the effect, it's just, I'm sickened to the point that I don't even know what to do, and furious with the people that are not, that they're just left, they're not being helped. There's just too much with people that are, all these like animals that, it's just, and I have not, and I've had a really hard time sleeping. Like, it's, I don't even know what to do with, we don't know what to do with our feelings. And I think a lot of people are feeling that way. Do you have any suggestions on on how to,
the obvious answer is to mobilize, to start becoming active, to start doing, educate yourself. First of all, this is a big deal. Educate yourself on things like the recycling programs in your area. Are they effective? If they're not effective, how can you change that? And let's do ourselves a big favor. Let's do each other a big favor, okay? We need to stop telling ourselves, I'm just one person. I can't do there's nothing I can do about it.
Good point.
That is some mindless, you know what? That is the mentality of somebody that literally, and this is going to sound horrible, but this is the mentality of somebody who thinks that sticking their finger in a light socket is fun. None of us should have that mentality. Okay.
Right.
If you believe so little in yourself and so little in your personal power that you believe that you have no significance, then you are cutting yourself so short. And again, if you fall into the Abrahamic line of belief, you're also really cutting creators short too, because what does the Bible say about creating a human being? That he knitted you in the womb. Do you know what happens when people knit? When somebody knits something, they literally touch every little piece of that thread. Yes. Their fingers interact with every piece of it. So, and there's reasons why the words knitting and creating come into play with that verse. Okay. The understanding of the fact that Creator thought so much of us that we were knitted together. So we need to stop doing ourselves the injustice of I'm just one person. I can't change anything. One person, the power of one human being is immense. If it wasn't, how is it that a woman gives birth to a child? I realize there's another component that has to happen to get it there, but again, a man. If it was just a man and just a woman and just a child, there would be nothing. Okay. So first of all, realize your own importance. Realize that your personal power, your words, your deeds, your thoughts, your actions are extremely important. Just like your words count, your actions count, everything counts. And each one of us doing nothing is, again, what they want us to do. you are now effectively playing the pawn for the enemy. So the idea is to learn to find ways to stop doing that. We want to be the rebellious children, okay? We want to be the rebellious children. We want to use our personal power, our ability. I don't care if you are if you don't know how to do any creative thing on the face of the earth, you can stoop down to pick up a piece of paper, okay? If you may not be an author, but you can sit down and write a letter, or put a sign in your window or something to wake people up. There's something you can do. There is something you can do.
Little Twisted had two questions, because I want to go back to that. She said, Daniel, do you think that cryptids will show themselves more? And do you think they will form, I believe she meant, an alliance?
An alliance with us? Or with it?
Yeah, we'll see because she had also made another statement. So what do you mean, Little Twisted? Could you just expand on that? Yeah.
So what was the first? I got caught up on
that.
Yeah.
She had. Okay.
Why are they showing themselves? Here we go. Do you think show themselves more? I do believe that. Okay, so here's something you got to know about them showing themselves. They know what your intentions are. They know. Let me reiterate that a different way.
Yes, they form an alliance with us? That's what she's saying.
So this will answer part of that too, in a sense. They can tell whether you have good or bad intentions. Your energy, your vibrations, let them know whether or not you have bad intentions or not to them. It's just a vibrational feeling that they can pick up. I had, if you go on my Facebook page, I know there was a picture that I took not too long ago in East Tennessee. When I was there, they were mind speaking with me. I was getting ready to go home, and I was in a parking lot of a hotel, and there was a wooded area, and I asked, I said, "Where are you at?" And they directed my attention toward that wooded area, and I said, "I'm going to put my phone up and take pictures in that area. I want to see your face because I want to be able to, I need a face to really bring this home. More so I don't think I'm raving mad crazy." And the message I got was, you know what? Put your phone where your gut feeling is telling you to put your phone right now. Point your phone and take the pictures.
Wow.
And I did. And there were two images that showed up in there. Once I zoomed in, I had to zoom in a lot.
Yeah.
Because I was a pretty good ways from them. I say that to say this. They allowed me to do that because they knew my intention was pure. Okay. I'm not there to try to prove a point. I'm not there to try to make them out to be, some weird creature that, I'm not trying to do any of that. I'm not trying to give away their location because we don't want to do that.
Right.
Because there's too many people with too many little boys with weapons. Okay.
Yes.
That with the wrong intentions right now. We have to educate them first. Ask questions first, and then if they're going to come at you, then you can take them out. But don't take them out just because they're different. Not the way to play the game. Now let's talk about the whole thing with Alliance. I cannot be the spokesman here and say that I believe that that is an end game, or that I believe that is their desire, because I don't know. Mm-hmm. I do know that they have the desire to reach out to at least some of this. I do believe that there is the potential for them to, because it's happening. I mean, Barb, you have a clan that reaches out to you. Daryl Deaton has mentioned befriending a group before of them. I believe that is very important for us to understand that in their time and at their will, there will be alliances in that sense formed. Okay. If they choose that they want to friend you, they will. Now, is there a chance that maybe someday there'll be a roundtable discussion between man and cryptid? I don't know. We have a lot of evolution to do before that happens. That is way, like, we're so far not there right now. Mm. It's like, I can hear Joan Rivers is somewhere in my head right now going, "Can we talk?"
Yeah.
But, here's what you got to know is, do not give up hope on that idea. Mm-hmm. At this time, humans must rise to exactly. Mm-hmm. We need to learn to do that. It is going to take baby steps. Okay, you cannot. It's taken me years to get to the point where I am right now, and when I say years, I mean decades to get to the point where I am right now. And I am just in my infancy of trying to form something here. Okay. And if the first contact with me was when I was 9 years old, and I am nowhere near 9 any longer now. And I'm going to tell you how old I am, but old enough to know. Okay. It's decades. It's taken decades to get to the point where we're now in communication to the level we are, and they still are not inviting me to McDonald's for a Happy Meal. Okay,
probably wouldn't happen either, right?
No, although Barb, this I've got it. Do you cook a lot? Are you a cook?
I by force. Not force, because I'm the mom and I have to cook.
The reason I'm asking is because there was one point when you were talking about protection. Uh-huh. I got this thing about food and projecting protective energy into the food while you were cooking it and leaving it for them. I don't know why that was a thing, but it was definitely a thing that I was like, I just thought to myself, oh my goodness, back in there are people that would call that kitchen witchery, and maybe it is to a point, but placing intention in food is a very good way of being able to heal and cleanse and protect.
Oh, good point.
That's one of the reasons why chicken soup is such a good healing. It has nothing to do with the chicken being magic or anything. It's mom and grandma's intention and the love that they put into that chicken soup. That's the healing process. A lot of people don't get that. Yeah. And moms are incredibly powerful. You know what? You guys, there's all the mom jokes all the time about all kinds of mom jokes, but the fact of the matter is one of the most dynamic forces on the face of the earth is a mother. Mm-hmm. Because there is so much pure energy that goes into being a mom with everything. It's like, no wonder moms get crazy sometimes and finally like just snap and say, you know what? I'm done today. Leave me alone. I want a bath.
Yeah.
Because you spend so much energy, you have to recharge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, food is a really good way of presenting protection and cleansing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a way that they're not, I don't know any animal, be it human or non-human, that's going to turn down food ever or get upset that it's offered food.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
So food and music, those are two ways of being able to empower the creatures around you, for sure. And even if you're just feeding the birds, infusing that feed with intent of love and protection and healing before you throw it out to them is very important. Very important.
Great. I love that. That's so, yeah, everybody take note. Wow. That's great. We are coming up on an hour and a half. I don't want to keep too long. I know this is like, whoa, flown by. I'm going to have you back on. It's happened so often, but I'd love, this has been absolutely fantastic. Daniel, thank you so much. Before I ask you for your final words and thoughts, can you just tell everybody again where they can find you? How can they get in touch with you?
Somebody asked about a YouTube channel. I do have a YouTube channel. It is Magickal Journey. Literally, like any platform that I am on, I use my brand now, Magickal Journey. Honestly, the easiest way to be able to find the places that I'm at and any future projects would be at magicaljourney.com. That has ways to contact me, that has ways to find me on all the platforms, including the audio platform, and so forth. And my direct email address is on there too. Daniel at magicaljourney.com. Yeah. Yeah. So that is definitely the easiest way to do that. And though I'm really proud of the website because, to be honest with you, I'm still developing it. Mm-hmm. But when I ran the diagnostics on it the other day, it came back with more good than bad. And I'm not like one of those technically... Yeah. I'm not like that. I'm not a great nerd. Okay. I'm just kind of nerdy enough to be able to get by and say I'm a nerd.
I'm getting, everybody say, great show. And then, little twists of Daniel, you're amazing. Thank you so much for your time with us today. And I would agree. So final thoughts to share?
Honestly, guys, if there was any take home to today that's really important, before you can get excited about reaching out to the cryptids, you have to understand your own personal power and the importance of you as a person, as a human being. We are kings and queens in our own right. Okay. We were destined from our birth to be important. And that is the whole point of being here. That's why there was the misinformation years ago that suicide was a ticket to Hades, which is, by the way, not accurate. Read the book. There's only one unforgivable sin, and that's the blasphemy of the Holy Spirit. But the reason why that was stated that way for a long time was because that is the most probably selfish act that anybody could do, is to end their own existence, because we're all here for a reason and we're all important. So if you're sitting there saying, I don't have, or I'm not worthy, or I'm not this or that, you have to start reprogramming those thoughts. It's very important. That is very important. Even if you have nothing that you can give, you can smile.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That could make all the difference in the world. I really, when I leave the house, I try to think about that. You know,
even just something simple like that. If you feel like you can't do anything else, you know, a word of encouragement, a smile, something. And when you get those little baby steps going like that, you eventually find the motivation to break out of that bondage of I can't and I'm not.
Gotcha. Perfect.
Those are the big things to take home today, if anything.
I love that. I just wanted to, again, thank you. I wanted to mention, Grizzly wanted me to mention to everybody about a live show that he has coming up. It's going to be over the weekend. They're going to live stream from a haunted location in Harlan, Kentucky. Pretty exciting. He and Justin Decker are going to be there. So everybody don't forget to check that out. Set your notifications. Again, thank you for thanks everyone for joining us. We had a great crowd today. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So have a great night, everybody, coast to coast and around the world. Have a good night. Thank you.